This is probably the best thing that I will buy all year. I moved away recently and I managed to find this really great deal very early into moving, so I had this sent back home and it had just been waiting for me ever since. A couple months ago I went back home to visit family and here it is, a bulk lot of Playmates Simpsons World of Springfield action figures. The line started back in the year 2000 and it released more than 10 complete waves with over 200 figures released. This line included multiples of collector figures, mailways, playsets and more. Each figure had an interactive voice chip that could interact with the Springfield displays. The line sold for $20 NZD back in the day, which is roughly $32 today, which couldn't even buy you a Marvel Legends figure. The auction I won was for a bulk assortment of figures from across the waves and playsets. There's around 40 plus figures here, all in one transaction. Over the past few months, I've been studying this amazing video from Figure Collections, which detailed the release of each figure in order, so thank you very much for that very helpful video. Now there is a lot to unpack here, so without further ado, let's get into what will easily be one of my favorite purchases I've ever made in the realm of toys. The package here arrived in two giant boxes. Figures and sets and accessories were all spread throughout. This was what I managed to unpack in the first box, and this was what I found in the second. The seller warned me that they might need some cleaning, but I think he underestimated just how bad some of these looked. This was the condition that most of these sets and figures were in. A couple of the figures were in better condition than the others, but basically every single figure had at least some form of a marking that I figured I should just clean all of them. So I prepared a cleaning station in my family's kitchen and I started working on the figures in batches at a time. I first sprayed them all with this cleaning product and then I used a toothbrush to scrub away any of the marks and dirt that they had. It was pretty tough to clean some of these guys since the figures have these electronic chips in them and I still want to use those interactive display features if they work. So I figured out a technique of me basically dunking them headfirst into the water and then drying them off on a towel near a window using natural sunlight. I basically repeated this pattern until I was satisfied. These are some of the before and after shots where some of the figures will probably need some more work in the future, but some of them came out looking really great. I repeated this process over a few days, cleaning each figure at least twice I think and air drying them overnight. The bases were the exact same deal. There was a lot more grime in amongst some tough to reach corners, so I used the same process as I did for the figures. Spray, toothbrush, wipe down with water. After a few nights of cleaning, it was then time to organize through all of the accessories. If you're familiar with this channel, then you might know I am a big fan of accessories, but this was such a large undertaking that I needed some help from my partner. Together we watched some Simpsons episodes in the background and we located every single character's accessory. Once a character was complete, we sorted them into their respective waves. These were all of the accessories that seemed to be left over. Now unfortunately, I think I do have some figures missing. In the image, there were definitely a handful of figures that weren't sent with the full package, and when I contacted the seller to know about their whereabouts, they said that they weren't aware of any figures that had been left behind. So unlucky on that count, because I have the accessories for Brain Freeze Bart and Sunday Best Marge. And after all that hard work, this is what the figures ended up turning out like. There's around 50 or so figures here actually, and 9 playsets in total, all ranging from main character to side character to one-off special appearances. It's a perfect combo item for a Simpsons fan like myself. So let's get into who exactly we have here. Wave 1 consisted of 6 figures in total. Here we have Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Krusty. Every figure basically had the exact same articulation as one another. The head can turn, the arms can move up and down, and the hips can rotate as well. There were probably some figures that released with some special movements or some without, but for the most part this is what the figure can achieve. I love the accessories that were given to each of the figure, where some of them have some very cool misc items like Lisa's books here or Homer with some food items, but some of them had some character specific accessories like Bart's skateboard and Krusty's Krusty Burger themed items. I really love cartoon stylings that are adapted into toy form, so it completely won me over. Missing from this wave were Abe and Mr. Burns and a Simpsons home expansion which included Marge. Marge and Lisa, usually from my perspective, are the hardest to get figures when it comes to things like merchandising, so fingers crossed that I do come into contact with a Marge figure later on in life to hopefully complete the family, because having an incomplete Simpsons family will bug me for years. Tragically, I skip over Series 2 entirely and I jump into Series 3. Here I have Homer in his Sunday Best, Camp Krusty Bart, and Nelson. Missing figures include Milhouse, Otto, and Moe, who are figures that I would have loved to have. We then skip past many waves unfortunately and we land on Series 7 with only 2 figures here, but it helps fill in the occupational roles of Springfield. Here I have Edna Krabappel and Officer Lou. Missing characters here are Cletus, Mole Man, Dolph, and Officer Marge. At least this way I would have had a Marge figure. This wave also included the Krusty Burger display with Squeaky Voice Teen, and also the Simpsons kitchen with Moo Moo Homer, who is one of my favourite variants of that character. With Series 8, we do have some representation, but also something a little annoying. Here we have Daredevil Bart, Uta, and either Sherry or Terry. Missing figures are Kearney, Willie Shirtless, Superintendent Chalmers, and either Sherry or Terry. Series 9 is a little bit more fleshed out than the others. We have Sunday Best Abe, Busted Krusty, and Sideshow Bob. Included in the auction was Sunday Best Lisa, but she wasn't shipped. I do have her accessories though. This is the first time that we can look at the playsets included because I was lucky enough to get both. Here I have the police station with Eddie, and the retirement castle with Jasper. The Series 9 figures pair quite nicely with the Wave's playsets, I think. There was a special celebrity appearance wave here also that included two figures, Brad Goodman, voiced by Albert Brooks, and Lionel Hutz, who was voiced by Phil Hartman. Series 10 is also bulked out a little here, even with a playset. We have Stonecutter Homer, Park Ranger Ned Flanders, my only variant of Ned, Vacation Smithers, my only variant of Smithers, and Dr. Marvin Monroe. I also have the Maggie figure from this wave, but missing the Marge. It will always haunt me. The playsets included was a Mr. Burns in his room, and Dr. Nick in his office. Series 11 is really jammed up here. In fact, it is fully complete, even with a playset. The wave gave us Plow King Barney, Blue-Haired Lawyer, Rainier Wolfcastle, Larry Burns, Kirk Van Houten, and Old Gil. The playset included was the courtroom with a Judge Snyder figure included,
What the opening statement commands.
which was very fitting for those lawyers.
Your Honor, I move for dismissal. How many can I put you down for, a lot?
Series 12 is also a fully complete wave, which leads me to believe that the seller I bought these from must have gotten into the game quite late. I know that feeling. This wave gave us Plow King Homer, awesome inclusion to be paired with Barney, Luann Van Houten, also a great pair for Kirk, Number 1, good pair for Homer, Don Vittorio, Mr. Largo, and Database. The playset release was Bart's Treehouse, which include Bart the General, but he is missing some accessories.
We are happy, we are merry, we got a rhyming dictionary.
With Series 13, it's so close to being complete, but I'm just missing one figure. We have Helen Lovejoy, Tuxedo Krusty, Princess Cashmere, Legs, and thankfully Stephen Hawking. Missing is Freddie Quimby. The playset included was Herman and his military antiques store.
What's the password?
Series 14 unfortunately suffers the same fate, missing but one figure. We have Miss Hoover, Luigi, Mrs. Botts, Wise Guy, and Willie. Missing is Louie, who would have been a really great pair for my Legs and Vittorio. The playset that released for this was McBain with the Aztec Theatre. Released around the exact same time was the EB Games exclusive set Moe's Tavern, which featured Duffman. EB Games in Australia and New Zealand only started selling toys and action figures around 2012 to 2013, so I wonder if this was actually sold here or not. The last set I have is the playset that released from the next wave. It's the Power Plant Break Room with Frank Grimes.
My name is Frank Grimes.
And that's it for my entire collection of World of Springfield. I'll leave a link to the really cool figure collections video in the description. It's a great video that really detailed all of the information that I've left out and all the information that I needed in order to finish sorting through all this. Naturally, my goal now is to find a store somewhere in the world that is selling most of these figures so that I can hopefully complete those missing waves. For now though, I think I have a really decent Springfield setup.